Hey people, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Cambria. I make videos about military, lifestyle, and self-care. So for today's video, I pretty much just want to jump right into it. I get a lot of comments about this and I get a lot of DMs asking me questions. So I'm just going to go through and pretty much answer all of the most frequently asked questions. I know that basic training can kind of be like this black void that like no one really talks about and or like knows what to expect. But guess what, today we're gonna go in depth because there are some challenges and there are some things I think are super helpful and that I wish I would have known. I've consulted some of my friends and I pretty much just sent out like a mass text today and said, hey guys, like what's something you want to know after going through basic, like what would you have done differently, what were things that were helpful. So I'm just gonna share those with you. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, some tea, put a nice little face mask on because we are going to be going through everything. I'm talking hair, underwear, yes, the white underwear question, period. That's something you're going to have to deal with. And pretty much anything cosmetic and or female related I'm going to go through. I will put timestamps when each topic starts, so if you're more interested in one thing and less worried about something else, and you can just jump straight to that part of the video. I'm not going to bullshit you guys. I am going to be straight up and honest so that you can be prepared and you can go through this process as smoothly as possible. Start some drama. You don't want no drama. No. So before we get started, please give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to see more content like this and hit that subscribe button. All right, so topic one is hair. So obviously right now, this is not my natural hair. I do have long-ish shoulder length natural hair, so that was a question that I had going into basic was what the hell am I going to do with my hair? I'd obviously never really worn my hair in a bun before, so if you're someone with curly hair and you won't have time to wash it like you want to and you won't have time to do that, 8-step process that we like to do on our Sunday wash days. So biggest tip and or suggestion if you have curly hair and you want to maintain the integrity of your hair and not have to really deal with it is to get a protective style. Also, if I'm looking down, I have notes right here and they're super long and I want to make sure I cover everything, so sorry if I'm not making eye contact. So yeah, this could be anything from micro braids to cornrows to tree braids. I personally went with tree braids because I liked having like some hair outside the braid that would make wrapping the bun a lot easier. So with this in mind, there are hair regulations. I will be linking in the description box, like the specific Air Force regulations. I don't know Army regulations or Navy regulations. You're not required to cut your hair for Air Force basic training, so you don't have to worry about that. If you have long hair, you can keep your long hair. But you also have to consider that you're going to be wearing a hat when you're outdoors. So anytime you're thinking of a protective style, it needs to be something where you can fit all of this goodness in there. I also don't suggest wearing a wig and or wearing a weave during basic training just because you're sweating a lot, you don't have time to wash your hair, you won't have time to do any of that maintenance, and it would be kind of difficult just to deal with considering you have really short showers just in personal care time. For my basic training at least, you had to be able to fit like a tear gas mask over your hair and your bun like when it was back, or I'm pretty sure they actually let us put our hair like in a low ponytail. So that's just another thing with braids, like you have to consider that you'll have a hat and possibly a mask. Not every class year gets tear gassed, so that's all I can say about that, but at least for my year that was one of the concerns I had. So now ladies, with your straight long hair, straight short hair, I have consulted the volleyball team and pretty much we have all different lengths of hair, all different types of hair, and I asked them for tips and what they did during basic. So I'm gonna go through those now. Once again, you don't have to worry about cutting your hair beforehand. If that's something you're interested in, once again, I would refer to the guidelines because there are certain requirements for how you can cut your hair. If I remember correctly, it can't be boyish or fattish. So if you're going for that pixie cut, just make sure that it follows the Air Force guidelines. All right, so another one of the biggest tips, if you're not used to putting your hair in a bun, I suggest that you practice because you will have very little time in the morning to wake up and try and sit there and like learn how to put your hair in a bun during basic. So beforehand, like just practice, literally just doing this. Practice that motion. It will help, I promise. Also for girls with straight hair, I'm gonna insert the picture right here. This was something that some of my friends said were super helpful for making sure that their hair stayed in a bun, because you're running around a lot, you're working out, like you don't really have time to like sit there and worry about flyaways. So they're like these little like twisty pins. There's a lot of girls that use them. I'll put them in the description box too. And then when it comes to washing your hair, so I would honestly expect on average your shower time is gonna be anywhere from like 1 minute and 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It kind of depends on who you have in charge of you. I know for my year, the longest shower I got was probably 4 minutes, and that was just when we were doing a lot of physical activity that involved mud and or courses. So like they had to give us extra time to shower and get all the mud off of us. Or after you go through the tear gassing day, they gave us, I want to say it was like 5 minutes to shower, just because you want to make sure that like none of that stuff is on your skin. But when it comes to showering and with hair, one of the biggest suggestions that my team gave was to do like a 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner. Also suggested a wide tooth comb. You can't have your hair dyed as long as it's a natural color. So I wouldn't come into basic with like platinum blonde, almost like pink hair. Like I would not suggest that, but you can have your hair dyed. You don't have to worry about like getting your hair back to its natural color. If you've seen my Instagram, shameless Instagram plug, I change my hair color all the time. I've been blonde. Right now we're going with a nice little auburn brown vibe, and the braids I had during basic were just like a dark brown, like my natural hair color. So don't worry about that. And then when it comes to hair accessories, I highly advise bring as many bobby pins as you can, because you're gonna lose those things, especially when you're down in jacks, which is like the outdoors part of basic, and you're gonna be running around a lot. You're gonna want bobby pins to like secure stuff back, especially if you have braids. Sometimes like if you're running and you have, you know, your braids in a bun, just shove some bobby pins in there so that they aren't constantly falling out, because they will get slightly upset if you're having to fix your hair all the time, because it's basic training. And then for colors, anyone can wear black hair ties. It doesn't matter what your hair color is. That's like that's the safest bet, just to get black. But you can also do the same color or as closely as possible to your hair color. So if you're blonde, you can wear blonde hair ties. So probably the question that gets asked the most by the female audience is this whole situation regarding underwear. The Air Force Academy basic training on the packing list, at least the past 5 years, they've said to use white briefs. So that's something you can completely do that. You can follow the packing list if you don't want to like worry about doing something else. But I know some people, that's not the most comfortable thing for them, and they're kind of confused as to why they need the color white. The other alternatives, you can do thongs, and they don't always have to be white. I suggest you stick with either white or black. Don't do other colors, because during basic training they wash everyone's laundry together and they pretty much just like boil it all together. So if you do have white underwear, most of my underwear was like a nice light color sage green, because obviously like your socks and your santees are all that color, so when they're washing them together they all kind of end up the same color. Don't buy expensive underwear. You won't be able to wear it after basic at all. Mine were pretty much like torn up. I went with like mini spandex underwear, so they were longer, and I just did that because I wanted to like help with the whole inner thigh rubbing together situation. So you can do thongs, you can do like a longer brief, you can do like the suggested brief. I had white and black underwear. I'm clapping because you need to remember this. You need to bring some form of spandex, like a long spandex. Volleyball spandex are cool, or like track spandex are cool, but I highly suggest that you invest in getting like a long pair of like biker spandex, like the thick material, because those things literally saved my life. I had roommates that like didn't have spandex or didn't have long enough spandex, so that when we were running every day and like doing push-ups and dragging things around, like your thighs are constantly doing this next to each other. Unless you just have like an insane thigh gap, I'm telling you, there will be exercises where your legs will be rubbing together all the way down to the knees. So if you have a long biker short, then you can avoid chafing, and it'll be a much more pleasant experience for you. All right, so dealing with your period during basic training, it sucks. I'm not gonna sit here and say it doesn't suck, but there are ways that you can be prepared. I didn't really have to deal with this during basic because I was on birth control, and I think just being in a different environment and working out so much, I just didn't get a period for 6 weeks. So, and I was completely healthy. Like, I was gaining weight during basic. I didn't lose weight. It just kind of depends on the person. So one of the tips that one of my teammates gave me was to always make sure that you have a tampon or a pad or multiple tampons and pads. Look out for your fellow lady friends in your Camelback. A Camelback is just like the little backpack that they issue you where you keep your water, and that way you'll always have it on you. You don't go anywhere without your Camelback, especially if you're going to work out. So then if it's one of those things where it's an emergency and you're like, hey, like, I feel like I'm about to bleed through my uniform, you can ask someone like, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. So now we are going to be talking about just overall cosmetic guide. So one of the biggest things is make sure you have a lotion, especially if you're doing basic training. If you're going through the Air Force basic training in Colorado Springs, bring a lotion. It's super dry. You don't expect it to be as dry as it is, and you're already kind of in like gross conditions. So having a lotion that you can put on your face and your whole body, especially your face though, because I remember like my lips were cracking. Another thing is bring a face sunscreen. You're going to be out in the sun for long periods of time. Like, it's one of those things where you don't want your face to get burnt, because then that's just another unpleasant thing that you'd have to deal with. And one of the girls on my team also said that, you know what, it's okay to like keep up with your face routine. Bring your face routine stuff, because at the end of the day, like, you will have time to take care of yourself once they send you back to your room. So if you're not too tired, like, you will have time to sit there and wash your face. And sometimes it's just one of those things where it's like therapeutic. You and your roommate can just kind of do that, and it's just a way to like, okay, relax, like, we made it through the day, let's take care of our skin, because, you know, it'll be great. Like, I'm not sitting here and saying like, oh, like, you need to be able to look girly during basic. Like, don't bring makeup, you won't be able to bring nail polish, but it is good to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because it will help you feel better. Another thing is invest in a chapstick that you like. They will issue you chapstick. I know for some people it didn't really work. I still have my basic chapstick because I love that thing. It has sunscreen in it. So bring a chapstick that you know works for you. One of my friends said Vaseline worked really well for her, because it was one of those things where you know you're not gonna run out of it if you have like a tub of Vaseline. Cough drops. Shout out to Kat with the cough drops plug. So most people will end up getting sick during basic, but even if you don't get sick, you're allowed to have cough drops. And it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes cough drops are huge for morale. So these are the ones that my friend suggested. She literally said they're candy, and like, they do help you stay awake. So it's one of the things where if you're sitting down for a long time, which you're not usually sitting down, but sometimes you have to go to briefings and you're so tired and you literally can't stay awake, start popping some cough drops, because it's better than getting caught sleeping during a brief. So hopefully this will help you in preparing for basic training. If you have any more questions, please comment them down below, or if they're more personal, feel free to DM me. My Instagram's down below. It's Cambria_G. I try and get back to DMs as quickly as possible, or you can email me at my business email, which is also linked down below. I check that every day, and will actually be checking it every day since I'm now trapped inside. So if you like this video, once again, give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all the support, and hopefully this helps.